October 24th, 2025. And of course, that means it is time for World Edition here on Pod TV. We'll be talking about some of the things going on in the world and around the U.S. And definitely a lot is going on as usual. Zelensky meets European partners to discuss arming Ukraine with more missiles, depriving Putin of more money. Zelensky embraces Starmer as he arrives at number 10 ahead of Ukraine talks. And on a roll, European leaders are meeting to bolster the support for Ukraine. So definitely that is something that folks are talking about. Just like they're talking about who is the dapper Louvre heist detective and is he even real? So Louvre heist lift maker seizes on the theft with a new ad. So they responded to the Louvre heist with a playful marketing post. And definitely some folks are asking what we know about the evidence left at the scene of the Louvre jewel heist. Trump says Israel not going to do anything with the West Bank as the U.S. fumes over the actions of Israel. And J.D. Vance just called an Israel parliament vote stupid and an insult. And definitely some folks are asking, including those at Al Jazeera, can Israel annex the West Bank if the U.S. says no? So Vance slams the U.S. Slams Israel's parliament vote on West Bank annexation, calling it an insult. Tropical storm Melissa lumbers through the Caribbean, killing an elderly man in Haiti. Tropical storm Melissa forecasted to become a major hurricane, and the folks are definitely talking about that as it is. Tropical storm Melissa is a serious flood danger to Jamaica and Haiti, and forecast to rapidly intensify to a hurricane. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. German foreign minister's China trip canceled, a spokesperson said. So definitely German foreign minister postpones China trip amid tensions between those countries. German's top diplomat pulls out of the China trip at the last minute, diplomatic bombshell as German foreign minister postpones that China trip. Throw the iron dice inside Trump's most perilous foreign trip yet. So Trump will head to Asia to promote big investments. Trump in Asia, some five key questions as the U.S. president prepares for a diplomatic tour. Trump is seeking trade deal with the G during the Asia trip. EU fails to back frozen Russian cash loan, but vows to support Ukraine. So Zelensky in UK for talks with allies on missiles, and the EU vows financial backing for Kyiv, even though they're holding off on their foreign asset plans as of now. But we'll see if that continues or doesn't. And Trump's sudden shift on Putin sparred by Russia critic Rubio. So stony silence from Moscow after Trump turns on Russia, says talks with Putin don't go anywhere. And definitely some folks are asking why the plan Trump-Putin talks collapse and what it means for Ukraine. In Hungary, Orban and Magyar hold competing rallies before the 2026 election. Orban and his main rival plan dueling demonstrations as Hungary's election nears, and they had those dueling demonstrations. So we'll see how this all goes. They're saying that Hungary's Orban seeks to boost support and opposition and holds rival rallies on that 1956 anniversary. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. Trump Kim meeting speculations flares ahead of U.S. President visit to South Korea. So Trump Kim meeting speculation flares ahead of that visit to the Asian area. So we'll see if this happens or doesn't happen as he's visiting South Korea. And some people are saying maybe he'll meet with the South Korean leader as well. A bus catches fire after being hit by a motorcycle in southern India, killing at least 25. So, bus fire kills at least 25 people in India. Andhra Pradesh bus tragedy, how a bike collision and a jammed door turned right into a deadly blaze on Bengaluru. So, definitely that is something that is going on in the Asian market as well. Europe faces an economic reality check on its climate agenda. So definitely we're hearing things about what's going on in that. EU leaders were pushing for a 10-year carbon cut deal ahead of the UN climate summit. And the UN court says Israel not meeting obligations as occupying power in Gaza. So they have given a rebuke in that case, and we'll definitely see what folks have to say about that. Cameroon's election results. We won't accept a stolen vote, says Issa Tichirama Bakari. So Cameroon's internet access was disrupted as election protests continue. So Cameroon election results, Constitutional Council dismisses the complaints, but they're saying that 2 dead and dozens arrested amid the Cameroon election crackdowns. And definitely that's something that folks are talking about in that part of the world as well. It seems like 2 Ukrainian TV journalists were killed and 1 injured in a Russian drone strike on Kramatorsk. So definitely that's something that folks are looking at. And even one of the papers in that area said they destroyed Ukraine's cultural elite. Number of artists and media workers killed since 2022 was revealed in an article that they had. And it looks like there was a substantial amount of folks that were in that realm of work. And they're saying that SpaceX disables thousands of Starlink's devices being used by the Myanmar scam centers. So nearly 700 people flee to Thailand after the Myanmar scam center raid. So thousands were detained as the Myanmar military raids notorious KK Park scam compound. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about also in the international space of the news. Tanzania's first female president has defied early hopes that she would ease repression. So the disappearances haunting Tanzania's election. So there in Tanzania, authorities are instilling climate of fear and stepping up repression ahead of general elections that were held there as well. So definitely it looks like there's some people that are wondering about that. The Economist says 2 flawed elections show the danger of one-party rule, and they're referring to what's going on there in Tanzania. And North Ireland court finds soldier not guilty of murder over Bloody Sunday killings. The 50-year road to a British soldier standing trial for murder. British soldier was acquitted of murder in a 1972 Bloody Sunday massacre. And Donald Trump was ripped for snide comment to foreign reporter he didn't understand. So Donald Trump roasted for not understanding the French journalist's accent, and somebody was even asking, how does he talk to Melania? So Fox News viewers brand Donald Trump an Alzheimer's case as they air breaking mishap, and that was reported earlier, I think, today as well. So Trump shut down reporter over Israel's vote to annex the West Bank after his threat to cut support. So that's definitely something that folks are thinking about and talking about as well. Get to some of the U.S. news, and then I'll bring in my folks to see what they've got to say about a number of these stories and maybe some other things that I've heard about as well. Trump says he's canceling trade negotiations with Canada over the anti-tariff ad. So definitely there's a ad, and some people with the Ronald Reagan Historical Societies are saying that the ad is misleading, and I think that's what Donald Trump is saying too. And apparently folks are asking, what is the Ronald Reagan ad that got Trump so angry was really all about? And apparently it was an ad where Reagan, the former president, was making his stance on tariffs and foreign trade known and all along those lines. So Trump is continuing to fume about Canada amid escalating trade battle and all in that space. And a new U.S. strike on alleged drug smuggling boat kills 6 is what Headshot says. As strikes on alleged drug boats grow, so do questions about their legality and their goal. Pentagon chief announces another U.S. military strike on the alleged drug boat in the Caribbean. And I think that I was watching some of the news earlier today on some other channels, and I heard that President Trump is considering some land raids in that part of the Caribbean as well. So we'll see if that happens or not. And the New York Times reports a mystery in Trinidad as the bodies wash ashore after the U.S. strike. And Letitia James' case shows ruthlessness of Justice Department in Trump's grip. New York Attorney General Letitia James set to plead not guilty to bank fraud charges in federal court after she was indicted in a mortgage fraud case, and she'll be arraigned in Virginia on federal bank fraud charges tied to those 2020 home purchases. And new satellite images shows White House wing demolished as part of Trump ballroom plan. So Stephen Colbert tears into the White House demolition, and photos shows the White House East Wing before and after demolition began to make way for Trump's ballroom. So definitely we'll hear more about this as well. And Trump says federal deployment to San Francisco called off after a conversation with the San Francisco mayor. So it looks like San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie avoided Trump's enforcement surge. So Trump backs down on sending federal troops to San Francisco and has called off immigration deployment to the Bay Area. And there's even some folks that are putting out things that you can do if ICE shows up at your door and everything like that. And by the way, Governor Glenn Youngkin declares a state of emergency to protect hungry Virginians. So SNAP recipients told to buy shelf-stable food as funding deadline looms. Democrats are under fire as food stamp funds run dry. 42 million Americans caught in a shutdown fight is what Fox News is reporting in that particular case and all along those lines. And he didn't deserve that. A widow speaks out after husband's violent death at an ICE facility. So definitely lots going on in the world, and I'm getting ready to bring in my folks and see what they've got to say about a number of these things, including Republicans barreling toward an Obamacare subsidy cliff with no unified plan. So health insurance sticker shock begins as shutdown battles over the looming, the battle that is continuing and over all of that kind of stuff. So shutdown battle over subsidies rages, and a lot of people are being impacted by this. Republicans may have run out of time on ACA tax credit changes, and why millions of Americans are facing a spike in the healthcare crisis. So I've got Rick Rosner with me.
Hello.
Dr. Sharif with me. I'll see if anybody else joined us later on and everything.
I got
a lighthearted question for you, Rick, and everything. And it's not a news story that I just reported, but it's one that I saw on one of the news reports on my local news channel, and it might have even been on one of the talk shows and everything. I don't know if Dr. Sharif is married, but I know you're married, and I know Rick's married, and you got some other people that are married as well and everything. There was a report that came out, I think it came out early this month, or maybe it was last month, that 6 out of 10 couples would consider having a brand sponsor their wedding. So would you have considered a brand sponsored wedding? And if so, what brand would you have gotten to sponsor your wedding? Because that was
our wedding was back in 1991. So I don't know what brands were big back then. I don't know. Coach purses. I don't know. My wife likes those. I don't know. Freaking Zima. I don't know what was big back then.
Well, I just found it interesting that 60% would consider that just because of the higher price of weddings.
Weddings were cheaper back then. I think our wedding was $10,000, which is, it's not nothing, but it's not like stuff costs now. So speaking of costs, inflation is back up to 3%.
I did see that.
All right, and so I spent a few minutes today looking at the architectural renderings of the ballroom. The ballroom is McMansion slop. I looked at it from all angles, and our most well-known federal buildings, the Capitol, the White House, the Lincoln Memorial, the Supreme Court building, they're all symmetrical. They all have bilateral mirror symmetry. They look the same on the left as the right, and it's our federal style. This frickin' ballroom doesn't have some symmetry on any side. It's slapped together by an architectural company, McCreary, that mostly does churches. And I looked at their church work. Their churches aren't symmetrical either. They had opportunities, and maybe somebody will criticize and push them to make it less sloppy. The east, and there's a big east entrance with a pediment or whatever you call it, and like the Supreme Court in 6 columns, but they didn't put it in the center of the east face. They put it way over to the side, and then on the other side they have 9 huge arched windows on one side, no windows on the arched windows on the. It looks slapped together. And Nick can say, I'm just being a sore loser lib, but I don't know, the building shouldn't look shitty, and it's gonna. It probably will look pretty okay from the inside, but who gets to see the inside? Just the people who get invited. You
can get invited to the ballrooms. I'm not sure about whether it'll be included on White House tours or things like that. So they do White House tours, at least they have in the past. It'll be interesting to see if they include that or not. You know, there's another thing that came out, and maybe Dr. Sharif got thoughts around this, and I'm sure you do because you come from the world of TV and everything. But there was a major heist and everything. And then the other thing that I saw that was interesting was apparently the crane company that was used in the heist is now using it for some creative marketing. So they were actually using it as part of their latest marketing employ and everything like that. So I guess they were bragging on the fact that they were used in the Louvre heist and everything like that.
Well, so what? The company that designed the scissor truck that got the thieves up to the second floor?
The crane truck, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. The head of the Louvre has resigned over this.
oh, the head of the Louvre has resigned now?
Yes.
I had not seen that and everything. So the head of the Louvre has resigned and all in that space. So we'll see what goes on in terms of repercussions from France and everything like that. But I'm going to see if I can see, because I heard about this actually this morning about the new ad that is being run by the company that built the crane.
So,
and
so
everything.
I have one more thing, and then I'll yield the floor. That
Yeah.
when my brother was in the Marines, he was part of a red team. And the deal is you make a plan in the military and other places. And if you're going to do a good job, you take some of your best people and you turn them into a red team. And their job is to figure out ways to defeat the plan. Because you have to, other people, when you make a plan, other people are going to, and you're trying to protect something or achieve an objective. Other people might try to thwart your objective, and you want to hire good people to come up with ways to screw you up so you can defend against those ways. And that's called a red team. The red team tries to sabotage you, not actively unless you're doing a war game, but they figure out all the different ways that you could pull a heist, that you could. And I don't know that museums have red teams. People, companies who come in and they say, well, if we were going to do a heist, they observe normal business operations, and they look at your facility and they look at your security, and they design heists. And they say this is the most likely to be successful way that people would steal art from your joint.
Well, as we know, Rick, as we know from some time back with the Pulse nightclub and with the museum, the Hayti Center where I work at is a cultural arts center, so it is in that same category with museums, and we ran a major blues festival and all along those lines. So yes, those kind of organizations do usually have a disaster planning meeting of some sort, but they're usually not held that often and everything. So
yeah, the Pulse nightclub, they nobody expected a guy to come in and shoot 50 people at the Pulse nightclub.
Right.
I'm sure they didn't have a red team, but probably after that, a lot of clubs looked at their security to see if they had ways of defending against a psycho.
Yeah,
I try to sit mafia style in restaurants. I have my own red team where, if we're in a restaurant, I want back to the wall. I want to know where all the exits are in case shit hits the fan.
Yeah, I hear you. By the way, the German lift manufacturer Bacher, that's the name of it and everything, and I'm probably not pronouncing it right because it's got those ellipses on top of the zero and on top of the O and everything. But they turned to social media when they spotted the ladder used in the Louvre theft, and in a post, the firm said the Bacher Agello transports your treasures weighing up to 400 kilograms at 42 m per minute, quiet as a whisper. So it sounds like they were using the heist as a quick way to try to drum up some business and everything like that. So definitely they use the social media as a tool to brag on their skill set of their company and everything like that.
Okay.
So I've got Toby with me. What's got going on in your world, Dr. Sharif? What's happening over there in Bangladesh and everything like that?
Yeah, there are a lot of things happening, especially if I focus on Bangladesh. We are preparing for next election in 2026 February. Besides that, lot of political reformation happening. Our youth are preparing themselves for entrepreneurial journey. That's why our World Talent Economic Forum, we are launching CEO development program. Besides that, some of them are very enthusiastic about politics and all of the things they are also involved. One of the interesting aspect I'm observing in South Asia, maybe this is very much relevant with USA. If you see that country like Bangladesh, we are definitely very small. So we have strong dependency on USA, especially for our garments industry, for foreign reserve and all of the things. And beside that, we heavily utilize US dollar uh, for our reserve and for our international business and everything. But recently in South Asia, I'm observing that the gold price is increasing, heavily is increasing, and it may indicate that the dollar price may lose their values because this 37 or 38 trillion dollars credit US has, and US get credit from China, from European Unions and all of the countries, uh, as they may give up their bond and in the different bond market. That is the issues, that this gold price is going very up. It's increasing and increasing. It's a it's an I want to say an impact in economy. So U.S. Reserve and U.S. Economic policymaker, they have to be concerned about this gold price, also this dollar price. Otherwise, these BRICS and all other international things like BRICS, as they planning to introduce their own currencies. This Brazil, Russia, this China, and all of the countries, it may cause more dollar devaluations in that situation. So this is an indicator that that there is a chance that besides this shutdown, USA may face these dollar devaluations and all of the challenges. But Bangladesh is a very good friend for USA. So Bangladesh Central Bank also trying to manage this mechanism, but you cannot control all of the people. So people heavily buying gold and gold price is increasing. It may be one of the economic and political indicators in global arena, and it's alarming for USA.
Yeah. Hey, just really quickly along those same lines, I see I got Jacoby with me and everything, and I know he's got some family ties to Canada, and of course we got Sasha who lives in Canada and everything like that. So I was just wondering, what is y'all's thoughts around Trump saying he's canceling trade negotiations with Canada over this anti-tariff ad that featured Ronald Reagan actually speaking against the whole notion of tariffs and how they can impact foreign trade. And I actually did listen to the speech and everything, and it sounded like he was definitely being anti-tariff, even though I think the Reagan Foundation is saying that the ad was misleading. I didn't find the ad all that misleading, but I was just wondering y'all's take on this, because apparently Trump is calling off Canada trade talks and is continuing to fume about Canada amid these escalating trade battles. So what's y'all's take on this, since both of you?
It's dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb. I mean, why are we even talking about a president getting mad at a TV commercial so he stops trade talks?
Yeah.
It's dumb. It's snowflake. It's thin-skinned. It's a complete embarrassment. Anybody who defends it is just as asinine as the idea of stopping trade talks over a TV commercial.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, this TV commercial, and I've checked, and I was listening to some commentaries that Ronald Reagan indeed made that speech about the tariffs,
Yes,
and
yes.
he was saying that they're very negative for the Americans to impose any tariffs against anybody because it violates free trade, and furthermore, it kills competition, because if your industries are protected by barriers, by different type of tariffs or so on, you're losing your competitiveness. You're protected, so you can do mediocre job, you can produce mediocre products, and just keep selling them and so on, and you are losing your competitiveness as a result. So he was 100% against tariffs, and because it was aired, as I understand, primarily in Republican states, and including Blue Jays games. So that infuriates Trump because there is very little he can do about it. So people, his constituencies, listen to the voice of wisdom to remind them what their great leader told them some 40 years ago.
Speaking of the great leader and everything like that, I also heard something else that was very scary, and we've kind of alluded to it before, but I was surfing the web, and Rick, you might be interested in this, but Steve Bannon pretty much in an interview with Katie Couric said that the current president in office will still plan to be in office in 2028. And he basically dismissed the whole notion of the Constitution and what the Constitution means. And he said that they will let folks know when it gets closer. But if the American people want him to be the president in 2028, it will be the will of the American people, and that he should still remain president. And he
Trump's approval is going to continue to slowly decline. From right now, he's at 43.5% approval, and it's not going to crater, but it'll slowly decline to maybe 40%, maybe into the high 30s, as inflation gets higher, as unemployment grows. But we have constitutional protections, but we've seen that those you can bulldoze those the way you bulldoze the East Wing. But one protection we have is that Trump is 79, almost 79 and a half. Mm-hmm. So he'll be 82 and a half in 2028 when it comes time to run for president again. And he's, they can keep him going with pills and who knows what else. But I don't know. He could be pretty rickety by 2028.
He could be, but like I said, Bannon was making it seem like they already have things in plan, and it could be part of that.
Right, but it's going to be a weekend at Bernie's type of deal where they're just going to. He's a little loopy now. He'll be more loopy in 3 years, and they'll have to prop him up. There are ways to. There's a helmet you can put on people's heads. The transcranial induction, it runs an electromagnetic field across your brain and gets your neurons firing better for about an hour. Well, they need to start hitting him with that helmet before he makes public appearances, so his thinking is clear.
When has his thinking ever been clear?
Well, all right, but still.
I mean, yes, Steve Bannon, and they have been working on trying to get him to, take over at 2028. I mean, people want to say that, quote unquote, it's a joke. It hasn't been a joke. He's been serious about it. This whole investment, when he found out that he can grift and make money off of the American people and they don't challenge him and he's not held accountable and he can do anything he wants, why is he going to want to leave that? Anybody answer me? If you can do everything you want to do and nobody tells you that you're not doing anything wrong, and then if somebody does, you can throw them in jail. Now you're going to leave that?
So Trump's dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 86 years old and died from it at 93. He was showing symptoms for in his early to mid 80s. And then after the official diagnosis, he lasted 7 years. So, and Trump's dad was probably in better shape. He was skinny compared to Trump. So
yeah, but it's like you just said earlier, he's building a ballroom that is doesn't show any sign that he wants to leave. If you're building a ballroom, why would you?
He got a plane from Qatar. He got $1 billion. He's not that's his plane. He's keeping that. He's not leaving. He's not going to try and leave. He's not going to be held accountable for it. Can we just be? Trump was diagnosed as being an asshole at the age of 5. It's not going to change. It's just
not at age 5. And he tells the story on himself that in 2nd grade he had a music teacher he didn't like, so he punched her. he was, as a teen, he was sent to military school because I guess he was kind of an a-hole then, and they just wanted to get him out of there.
And they wanted to get him in control and everything. But what is our thoughts around another part of the world which is tied to us and everything? So apparently there is we're having increased strikes on the Caribbean countries, whether it's Venezuela or Colombia, and all along those lines. And there have been some bodies that have even washed ashore over there in Trinidad and everything like that. But now he's talking about a land raid. So it sounds like he's going to use the military like he's using in the U.S. to raid some of these countries and everything. So are we expecting?
Well, Trump doesn't. Venezuela has a socialist leader who was elected fraudulently. He messed with the election results. He was not more people voted for the other guy. But so the guy who runs Venezuela is an a-hole, but I don't think that means we should start a war with Venezuela, especially since Trump claims to be the peace president. But we are building up to some kind of war with Venezuela, and I don't know that that war with Venezuela will cause that president to be deposed. Also, it's illegal for the U.S. to remove foreign leaders. Yeah. The CIA used to do it from time to time.
Again, who's held this president accountable? Nobody. Yeah. So you can say it's illegal all you want. Right now, we're trying to do regime change in Venezuela. That's what's going on. So again, nobody's holding this man accountable. He can do what he wants. He had a problem with Venezuelan president. So now he's trying to take him out. And that's exactly what's going on.
Hey, Jacoby, do you think that some of the things that are directly, because even Sasha has alluded to this, directly alluding people will get people to turn against Trump? Because there's like some 42 million Americans caught up in the whole SNAP thing, which is a food aid and everything. And a lot of people are facing loss of their Obamacare and everything like that. So there's a number of these issues that are going to directly impact millions. And like I said, it's 42 million with SNAP, and I don't know exactly the number for Obamacare, but I know it's up there in the millions and everything like that. So is this going to push people to maybe revolt against Trump and to kind of like put some guardrails on him of some sort?
No.
I was watching CNBC just before the show about 9 o'clock. There was Hakeem Jeffries appeared on CNBC for an interview, and he confirmed that there's millions of Americans soon will get bills for this insurance company for Medicare, Medicaid, and so on, and it will be for average family from $1,000 to $2,000 a month higher than it used to be. And he says that these people, they don't have, and we're talking about this a month. It's not just one-time payment, okay? You pay $1,000 and you're okay. No, it's a monthly increases from $1,000 to $2,000, and how American families can carry it. I mean, their life will deteriorate very significantly as a result of that. So something has to be done, and done now, not after the House will reopen or whatever, because these bills are coming at the beginning of November.
So I want to go back to Venezuela for a sec. Why is Trump beating up on Venezuela? Like a good bully, he's picking a weaker opponent. Venezuela has 28 million people, which is less than 1/11 of the U.S. population. Why not Colombia, which is right next door to Venezuela and supplies more drugs to us than Venezuela? Because Colombia, 52 million people. Why not Mexico, where most of our drugs come in over the border? Mexico, 130 million people, and we share a 2,000-mile border with Mexico. So Trump is picking the weakest enemy to beat up, even though they don't have much to do with the drugs coming in.
Well, he did pick on Colombia, to be fair. He did pick on them and everything like that.
Mark,
huh?
Mark.
Attack on Colombia.
Hold on. It was a boat off the coast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not attacking Colombia. He's attacking these boats off the coast where people cannot respond back to him. He's
Right.
doing exactly what Rick is saying. So he's not going to pick on Colombia. He's not going to pick on Mexico. They can hurt him more.
Right.
He's picking on places that, hey, you know, Venezuela. I can bomb Venezuela. I can use my military on Venezuela. Nobody gonna ask any questions. I'm attacking these brown people that are bringing drugs. Colombia has a lot of support in different Latin American areas within the U.S. The Hispanic community is upset about that. Not Venezuelans. The Venezuelans, he had them for a little bit, but they left him, so he doesn't care anymore. Again, nobody's checking this president. Why? Because he has a cult-like following, and it's just mind-boggling how the world is seen different. And this is why, Dr. Shreve, I'm pointing you out. Dr. Shreve, I know you'll say that you appreciate Trump on one end, and because of what you see in Bangladesh, and you're talking about the trade and stuff like that. Well, that's how he gets you, because he does this one little bitty thing, puts this one shiny object out, but yet robs everything. He just released a dude. He pardoned a guy in cryptocurrency.
The Binance guy.
Yeah. The Binance guy. The Binance dude, why did he pardon him? It's because the Binance dude is where his cryptocurrency is, and he's making $5 billion off of him. That's why he pardoned him. It wasn't because, hey, look, he did a good thing for somebody, which is why when I talked to you, Dr. Shreve, he did a good thing for Bangladesh and opened this one thing up. Well, you know what? He's doing it for a particular reason, where he's robbing you blind on the backside.
So let's go back to drugs for a sec. So Venezuela, not on the map for drugs. Heroin, 90 to 94% of heroin that comes in the U.S. comes from Mexico. Most of the fentanyl from Mexico. 90% of the cocaine crosses the U.S.-Mexico border. Meth, the drug is overwhelmingly synthesized in Mexico. So, Venezuela is this little blip off to the side. Mexico is the powerhouse of illicit drugs in the U.S.
Yeah, but
Yep.
Rick, to be fair about that and everything along those lines, how much of that is actually also controlled and implemented by folks within the United States as well?
A ton. Most of the people caught driving fentanyl over the border. That's where that's where most of the fentanyl comes through ports of entry, like Tijuana, San Diego, like El Paso, Juarez, and most of those people are American citizens.
Well, I've always been of the opinion, and not everybody has to agree with me, that the war on drugs is a misnomer, because I don't know that we ever really want to have a war on drugs, because in some ways the U.S. is complicit, and some people might even argue that it is involved in some of the drug trade. Now, whether that's
we create the demand. Americans wanting to use drugs, demand forces supply.
Yeah, demand definitely forces supply. Well, Rick, just really quickly along those same lines of Trump and some of his enemies and everything, it seems like Newsom and Trump are getting ready to come to heads, because Newsom has basically said that if Trump goes ahead with one of his actions, that he will slap a lawsuit on him and all along those lines. So what is your thought?
Who's going to enforce the lawsuit? Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is currently being sued by the state of Arizona because Johnson will not. It's been a month, and he hasn't sworn in an elected representative from the state of Arizona, because once she's elected, she will be the 218th signature on a petition to vote on releasing the Epstein files. And they're desperate. Part of the government shutdown is to avoid releasing the Epstein files, which must have some very damaging information about the president and a bunch of other rich people.
Yeah, a bunch of rich people and everything like that. But they're saying that the DOJ, Department of Justice, which is also controlled by Trump, is telling California officials to back off apparent criminal conspiracy to arrest ICE agents, because some of these ICE agents have been going on the rampage and everything like
ICE
that.
agents receive as little as 8 weeks training, and then they're set loose. And that's not it. When you go to the police academy, your training is the better part of a year, 10 months, and then you're a rookie cop, and you're assigned to a training officer for months and months until you prove yourself that you can, follow the rules of policing and be. There's none of that. I don't see any. There's nothing about somebody who's gotten less than 2 months of training being assigned to a more experienced officer before they go out on the street and do their ICE shit.
No, but even those that are trained are going on the rampage and doing crazy stuff, because you're talking about Mexico and everything like that. And a top border patrol official was accused of violating the judge's use of force order by throwing tear gas at a crowd in Chicago. So this is somebody that has actually been in the force for a while.
It was a couple of weeks ago where ICE agents tear gassed Chicago cops.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, so even cops with a lot of training screw up, at a fair rate. There's a story about inexperienced ICE officers shooting a family dog. The people said, you can come in and see if you want to arrest us, but before you do, please let us lock up our dog, because our dog doesn't like strangers. So they're like, okay. And they put the dog in the bathroom. And then ICE comes in. They open the bathroom door. The dog comes out. They shoot the dog. That happens with cops, too. There are a bunch of stories of cops shooting dogs for stupid reasons.
Yeah,
But
stupid reasons and everything like that.
People with no training and no institutional culture of restraint are going to screw up at a higher rate.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely going to do that and everything. How many of you, I haven't done enough travel, but I know that all of you folks have done travel recently and everything, are feeling safe with your travel? Because even the U.S. Transportation Chief is saying that he doesn't want air traffic controllers driving for Uber because of the shutdowns. There's definitely a good possibility that there may be not enough air traffic controllers up there. There was already a staffing shortage.
That's crazy shit, that air traffic controllers sometimes work 12-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And you want somebody working another 4 hours on top of that, and then trying to avoid planes, directing planes around each, just that's horrible. And no, so hearing about that, no. So my wife and I are due to travel close to the holidays. And if the government is still shut down by then, if air traffic control is falling apart, I don't know. I don't freaking know. I would hope that the individual states, like we live in California, that would step up and provide funding to maintain air safety, even as the federal government fails.
Yeah. Well, we've had a guest on this show a couple of times that is from farm country and everything like that. She's from Wyoming and all in that space. But I was just wondering, because apparently some of these farmers are getting very frustrated because they're feeling betrayed by Trump's plan to buy Argentine beef and everything like that. So I was just wondering y'all's take on this, because apparently a lot of ranchers, and the ranchers in some places are in deep red areas.
We have you occasionally have that lady on who is involved in ranching, and she said that beef prices have been pretty good. Year to year, farmers are at the mercy of market forces, and it's how much the slaughterhouses will pay for beef, and the slaughter industry is controlled by 4 big companies, and you take their prices, or you're screwed. Go ahead.
It's incorrect, because if you have 4 large producers,
Yeah.
and they're producing the same production year over year for the same approximately prices year over year. And here you have a fifth producer, an Argentina, which has excellent beef products, and they are coming into the market. So do you think that the farmers in US will still have the same level of...
No, not at all.
So then what she's talking about?
Well, because she was the last time she was on our show, was months ago before Argentine beef was being introduced.
Mark, invite her now. Let's hear the words of wisdom.
Well, we'll try to get her. I know that actually that's
she might have something to say. She defends Trump wholeheartedly.
I know.
Which one? Are you talking about the one who wrote the Abraham Lincoln
Yeah,
thing?
that's the one they're referring to, yes.
Oh, yep. She'll defend Trump no matter what.
But let's hear what the excuses are. Like I heard there was a Republican senator on MSNBC this morning saying that we need to give a ton of money to Argentina and buy their products because Argentina is keeping China out of South America. Now maybe that's true, but like I don't know. It seemed like
folks, I just saw another story that just crossed my news feed. Apparently, the hit list is continuing because apparently Attorney General Pam Bondi just announced an investigation into another Trump foe, namely Nancy Pelosi. So apparently, this just came down the pike that they're now going to investigate Nancy Pelosi.
Go ahead. Okay, so the deal with Nancy Pelosi is she's 85, and she is worth a ton of money. She's been in Congress for 38 years. And in that time, she's gone from, having a little money to having hundreds of millions of dollars. And the Republicans like to say, oh, how did that happen? And the way that happened is she's been married for 50 years to a venture capitalist, a professional investor who is apparently good at his job and has made them a ton of freaking money. Now, Nick, your voice is screwed up. You got to
voice is doing that thing again.
Yeah. Now, did she do insider trading? And can they prove it? Maybe, I don't know, but I would think. I think that when people are experienced in politics and they have ways of making a shit ton of money outside of politics, that they tend to keep their noses reasonably clean because it's like this betting scandal, this NBA betting scandal, where you have players making $20 million a year who may be barred from basketball for the rest of their lives over shitty bets for $50,000. It's freaking stupid, and I would hope our politicians aren't that stupid.
Well, said that the Republicans saying that Nancy Pelosi made tons of money, and they're talking about $100 million. Trump, in a few months, he made $5 billion. So what are you talking about?
Well, see that's an absolutely good question, because the problem is that, like, if they were in securities, you have insider trading rules, and as a congressperson, they don't have those rules. So I don't think she's done anything illegal. They can investigate her all she wants, but let's face it, if you have knowledge about how a bill's going to go through Congress, let's say to change the rules in the FDA, for example, making it harder for pharmaceutical companies to get patents. Then what you do is you sell short pharmaceutical stocks. You don't do it. You tell your husband, Paul, hey, why don't we sell it short? And so what happens, apparently that type of transactions go all the time in Washington, but it's not illegal. And there are some countries, including over in Europe, that if you had inside information, it's not illegal. You can trade off of it. So you're working for a public company and you go, well, I know we're going to do this and that, and the stock's going to go up. Trade in, it's okay. In the United States, it is illegal to trade off.
Yeah, but if it's insider trading,
so it's really much
if it's insider trading that you are controlling, because one of the accusations is that one of the players actually took himself out of the game because he was trying to help the bet.
Oh yeah, those are going to be problems, So we'll just have to see, because it's really every fact is different, Mark. So you have to see what the facts are. So I saw the gambling scandals that could go on, and you're right. So if somebody is is betting on a game that they're participating in, and they throw the game, you got a problem here.
That
Or
could be $100 million mistake. You could be playing another, 8 years in the NBA, making $15 million,
So-
but now you're banned.
yeah, it's possible. Well, we'll
So,
see. I mean,
just
people
to
do
point
a lot
out-
more.
Go ahead.
Just
yeah.
to point out, somebody did actually get banned just recently for in the NBA for this exact thing. Somebody actually did just get banned for that. There was also a referee that also got banned roughly about 2 years ago for doing a similar thing. So the NBA has actually been on top of, or actually trying to figure this whole thing out, because it is an issue and a fear in all sports that deal with this, but it is hard to find because sports is sports. So that one in the NBA, yes, it's a big scandal that is there, but it has been bubbling in the background for a while. In terms of the insider trading piece, that is a huge deal because of the fact that has been something that has been going on for a while. That is why there have been laws that have been brought up about that, but people have blocked that. There have been Democrat senators who blocked it. There have been many Republican senators who blocked it. There's also been Trump who campaigned against it. For example, there's been the insider trading piece that went on earlier this year on Marjorie Taylor Greene, who ended up selling off stocks and shares and everything when the stock market was going up and down. So the insider trading piece is huge. However, they won't be able to. The tough part about all these lawsuits that Trump is trying to pull on all his political enemies is the fact that he himself, as well as people in his administration, are actually actively doing these actual things. So when we try and normalize them and say it's not a bad thing, it is a very bad thing, and he's trying to normalize it. So then once it's pointed out on his administration or individuals in his administration or himself, hey, it's not really that bad, when it really is that bad.
So I read an article on the NBA, what's been going on. And one thing is the NBA players own little mansions, 5,000 square foot houses. And then little mafia operations are like, hey, let us set up a poker operation at your house. You can stop by, you can play in the games. We'll give you part of the rake, what we pull. And they rig the houses with all sorts of like hidden devices to read the cards. And yeah, people are getting, and it's stupid because for an NBA player to get involved, but they do, and it's dumb mafia stuff. And then I want to talk about Hunter Biden for a sec. So, for 5 years, they've been trying to pin Hunter Biden's bullshit on Joe Biden. And I think it's ridiculous because Joe Biden was out of politics for 4 years. He was not in elected office for 4 years between being VP and being president. In that 4 years, he and his wife made $8.5 million legitimately by writing books and giving speeches. Now, why would a guy who can make $2 million a year and an old guy who, doesn't need that much, how much longer is he going to live? He doesn't need to make 50 million. Why would that guy jeopardize everything by taking $100,000 bribes via his kid? That to me seems a guy who's been in politics for 40 years and would know better. Why would that guy get involved in corruption?
So the thing with what you're talking about is creating a narrative. It's already playing on the idea that everybody is corrupt. So if I can create something that's somewhat believable and throw it out there on top of somebody, and my base picks it up and runs with it. For example, an ideal example of that was when the Sydney Sweeney jeans thing, when somebody yelled out that people were upset on the left at Sydney Sweeney. Because you already have a narrative built up on one side, it's easy to run with that and put that out there, and it catches fire, and people believe it regardless if it's true or not. They
Nobody
just run
gives a
with
shit about what ads Sydney Sweeney does. All we wanted to
nobody-
do is
No, I'm just saying that that's an example.
right, but I
Yeah,
mean,
got
so
the
like,
That's an example. It's the
We
same
got
thing.
Steve really
Right,
quickly
right.
here and everything like that. So,
all right,
Steve, I
there's-
know you're here.
Yes, I got late. The finals on December 24th, and it's just been crazy. But we're trying to get on the Sharif show here for a few minutes. But yeah, real quickly. I mean, to me, I didn't come prepared today to talk about the breaking news, but everyone's been talking about the demolishing of the East Wing, which I think is interesting. I was at the East Wing 2 years ago, and it was really, really, really nice. And I feel bad that it's kind of being demolished, and it really made me wonder. Typically, presidents of the United States just keep the White House the way it is for their successors to come in, and it was kind of the unspoken thing. And so that's something that we could talk about next week. Is why did we do that? And let me really quickly, Mark, just going through my my notes here. The other things that we could talk about next week is Trump's ending trade talks with Canada. You maybe we talked about that. Intel's price has gone up tremendously, reporting really high earnings, and but I think and the government shutdown is really the elephant in the room. So it doesn't seem like any solution in sight. I have never seen our country this divided, and I mean, hopefully we'll look back at the history books and we'll get through this patch. But I tell you, it's crazy times out there, and we're demolishing the White House. I mean, last time I saw the White House demolished was Independence Day, the movie, when the aliens came in and blew it up.
Yeah, they blew it right then and everything like that. So definitely that is the case. And next week we can also talk about, and we talked about it to some degree, because I know Rick's in an area that is impacting housing, but apparently there's a housing crisis in other countries as well, because apparently as I was looking through the news, Greece is facing a housing crisis. I was hoping that Nick was going to stick around since Spain isn't that far from Greece and everything like that. But definitely we can talk about the global housing crisis, because it's not just a U.S. housing crisis, but it's one around the globe as well, apparently.
Absolutely. I mean, it's
So I'm looking at an article about Letitia James, who's another target of Trump prosecutors, and how weak the case is. That among other things, so according to one analysis, that how much she would have made by falsifying her mortgage would have been $800 in the first year, and that's not even substantiatable. And the prosecutors are claiming that it was a scheme to make money off of renting a property. Well, it turns out the property, she let a relative live there rent free. So she was not. So anyway, there's a bunch of weak cases that Trump is trying to bring the hammer down on. And most of these cases will fail, but only after the defendants spend $200,000 on lawyers. And I hope
They're selective prosecutions. That's all they are. He's just going after them because they are on his enemies list. And I don't know. I just hope they get all tossed out, because it's just ridiculous.
well, not just tossed out, but the judge says that the prosecutors have to pay court costs, because defending this stuff costs hundreds of thousands of bucks.
Yep, it does. And it's just sad that this is where we are, and no, he's not going to be held accountable for what he's doing or how he's reacting, because the body that is supposed to hold him accountable is submissive to him. Whatever he wants, they will do. Whatever he says, they will do. So this is why, again, this shutdown, when people keep trying to throw this on to the Democrats and so on and so forth, no, the shutdown right now is sitting squarely on Donald Trump. And until he decides he wants to work with or do anything with the Democrat Party, it's just going to sit here and people are going to suffer. And he doesn't care because he's getting his fancy new ballroom and his whole party is chanting and cheering him on. Oh, this is so cool. No, it's not. It's a horrible situation.
All right, so let me go back to Letitia James quickly. The grand jury in her case alleged that she saved $17,800 over a course of 5 years via getting lower interest rates via mortgage fraud. But then I looked up her salary, $210,000 a year. So a woman who makes more than $1 million in 5 years would jeopardize everything to commit mortgage fraud to save less than 20 grand? No, that's stupid.
Yep. But they will push it and they will parrot it because this is what Donald Trump says. And what's bad is that the MAGA people will sit there and parrot the same thing because Donald Trump told them this. And because Donald Trump says it, it has to be true. And it's asinine. It's sad. I mean, there's so many descriptors that we can give, but this is where we are. And it's just not changing.
You know,
That's the division that
wrap up and everything like that, and we'll have more of this conversation on
All right.
next week, and I'm sure we might even get some guests.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Get on
All right,
out
you
of
too.
here, and the Ukraine-Russia show is going on now, so it's definitely time to get on out of here.